The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Hey guys, this is a midweek analysis for October 12th of 2022. Okay, we'll start off with the Euro-Yen pair. Alright, this is a weekly chart. Let me run you by the current setup I'm looking at. So the last weekly long trade that form was right here, and the last weekly short trade that form was right here. Now going strictly from price elements, there seems to be more long strength on this long trade than short strength on this short trade. So the weekly bias seems to be long, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot high before reaching this pivot low. And so if you recall, I've been looking for lower confirmation of strong long strength to confirm this weekly long bias. And last week we did get lower confirmation of strong long strength right at this area right here. And currently I'm waiting for more of a pullback so I could take that long entry. Okay, so let's go into more detail about the entry setup. Let's go over to the 4-hour chart. Okay, so on this 4-hour chart, if you recall, there was confirmation of strong long strength from this trend line, from this pivot to this pivot right here, with a breakout and immediate break back in, confirming normal short strength. However, price came right back up to that pivot high to confirm strong long strength, and thus confirming that weekly bias to be long. And so at the current moment, I'm waiting for a pullback at least to the 139.40 to the 138.40 areas to get a long entry, with the main target at this pivot high right here and a stop loss at this pivot low right here. Now you want to remember this is a mid-road entry because there's overarching long strength on this pair to begin with. And that's why I could put the stop loss at this pivot low and not way below where that weekly bias's main stop loss level is. Okay, moreover, even if price does come down to these levels, I'm always watching to make sure there's no current strong strength forming on the way down to my entry level. Because especially on these mid-road type entries where there's a much tighter stop loss, if current price is showing strong signs of strong short strength, price can often override that long strength and hit that stop loss level, only to come up later on. Okay, and at this point, there were already some signs of strong current short strength forming. So let me go ahead and show you that. Zoom in. Okay, so right in this area right here, as you can see, there's consecutive rejection candles on the way down like this. Now, these are signs of current price showing strong short strength. So if price comes down to my entry level around 139.40 to 138.40, in this type of price action where there's many rejection candles form on the way down, I will not be taking this long entry, for prices likely to override the long strength and hit the mid-row stop loss level right at this pivot right here. Okay, so I'll keep you guys updated with this one. Let's go on to the Aussie Yen pair. Okay, and if you're having trouble understanding what I'm talking about in terms of weekly biases and lower confirmations, please download my forecast manual, which is a PDF that helps you better understand and get the most out of these forecasts. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Let me run you by the current setup I'm looking at. So the last weekly long trade that form was right here, and the last weekly short trade that form was right here. Now going strictly through price elements, there seems to be more short strength than long strength. And so the weekly bias seems to be short, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low before reaching this pivot high. And so for the last couple of weeks, I've been waiting for lower confirmations to confirm this bias. And just this week, we did get lower confirmation of strong short strength right at these levels right here. So let me go ahead and show you that. Let's go over to the daily chart. All right, so on this daily chart, try to run this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. As you can see right here, we got a breakout, an immediate break back in, confirming normal long strength. However, just this week, price came back down to that pivot low, where that normal long strength was created to create strong short strength, and thus confirming that weekly bias to be short. Okay, so at the current moment, that weekly bias is stating that price is likely to reach this pivot low before reaching this pivot high. Now that said, I've been mentioning that there is overarching long strength on this pair still. So I would much rather take a long entry at this point. But I'm going to need lower confirmations to confirm that this weekly bias is in fact long. So let me show you what I'm looking at in terms of lower confirmations. Try drawing this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. Now price could come down to these levels right here, come up to this trend line, break it out, and immediately break back in, confirming normal, short strength. But if price could come right back up to that pivot high, that'll create strong, long strength, and thus confirm that weekly bias to be long. And in that case, I will be willing to take a long entry with a stop loss at this pivot low and its main target at this pivot high. And since there is overarching long strength on this pair, I'll be willing to extend a portion above the higher levels. Okay, but that said, at the current moment, this weekly bias is confirmed to be short. So all things remaining equal, if we do get a nice pullback to say the 97.40 levels right here, giving me about 100 pip stop loss because my stop loss is at this pivot right here, I will be willing to take a short entry with this main target at this pivot low right here. Okay, so we're just going to have to see what happens with this one, and I'll keep you guys updated. All right, so let's go on to the dollar Swiss. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Let me run you by the current setup I've been looking at. So the last weekly short trade, that form was right here. And the last weekly long trade, that form was right here. And going strictly from the price elements, there seemed to be more short strength than long strength. However, if you recall, there was lower time confirmation of strong long strength roughly in these areas right here a couple weeks ago, which actually confirmed this weekly bias into being long. However, if you guys recall, I did not take this long entry on this nice pullback right here with the stop loss at this pivot low because there was a possibility of a new short trend forming on the longer time frames. And so I was waiting for lower confirmation of strong short strength to confirm this bias to be short. However, at this point, it has not formed. So if price just continues up to hit its main target of this weekly bias at this point right here, at that point, I'll no longer be looking for a short trade, for that weekly bias is reset at that point. Okay, but price did not reach that main target yet. So let me go ahead and show you what I'll be looking for in terms of lower confirmations. Let's go over to the daily chart. Okay, so on this daily chart, again, the weekly bias parameters was between this pivot right here and this pivot right here. And then a couple of weeks back at this point right here, we got lower confirmation of strong long strength. And so as price pulled back right here, this was an opportunity for a nice long entry with a stop loss at this pivot low. However, I did not take that due to the possibility that a long-term short trend was forming. However, I did not get any lower confirmation of strong short strength, and price reached all the way up to these levels, just shy of that main target right here. Okay, so as long as this main target is not reached, I'm still looking for lower confirmation of strong short strength. And here's a trend line I'm still looking at. And that's from this pivot to this pivot right here. So if price could come to this level right here, break it out, immediately break back in, confirming normal long strength. However, if price comes right back down to that pivot low, that'll create strong short strength. And I'll be willing to take a short entry with the stop loss at this pivot high and its main target right here. And moreover, since there is a possibility of a long-term short trend beginning, I'll be willing to extend a portion of that short trade way down to lower levels. Okay, so we're just going to have to see what happens with this one too, and I'll keep you guys updated. All right, so that's it for the midweek analysis. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, guys, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.